Hi, hello, and welcome to Paisa Vasool. As always, I'm your host, Shravan. We've got Taran here with us.
Hello.
We're back. And as we hinted in the last episode that we might watch Chhaava, we ended up watching it. It's been about a week, actually, since we watched it. So in this case, usually I like to talk about the films as soon as we've watched them. But in this case, I think it did help that I had a bit of time to digest this movie. Because walking out, I think we were both a bit shell-shocked. We didn't really say anything to each other. So I'm interested to hear what you thought about it. And what I've done over the last week or so is I've read up a bit about the history of what actually happened, or this character in this movie and the other characters in this movie. A bit more context about what actually, the significance of what actually happened in this movie was a bit clearer afterwards. But anyway, before we get into all of that, a bit of background on the film. It's directed by Lakshman Utekar. I haven't seen any of his previous films, but he's a cinematographer first, and then he became a director. But in terms of the films that he's directed, he made Luka Chupi,
Haven't seen it.
Mimi. Then he also directed a film called Zara Hatke Zara Bachke,
Oh, I like the name.
also starring Vicky Kaushal.
Vicky, yes.
This movie also stars Vicky Kaushal in the
Vicky
title.
Kaushal. This is the first Vicky Kaushal movie I've seen.
Oh, really? Okay. This is the second. He's in Razi, isn't he? It's that movie with
SRK.
No, that's Raiz.
Raise, okay.
Razi is the one with Alia Bhatt. Alia Bhatt, and she's like a Indian that gets married to a Pakistani. And he's like the Pakistani family, but she's actually undercover for the Indian intelligence.
Okay.
So she's there to like spy on.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that's Razi, and I'm pretty sure he's in that. So that was the first movie I saw with him, which is also a pretty decent film. Music is by A.R. Rahman. Coincidentally, so this is the first Hindi film we're reviewing for this podcast. This is the first time we're reviewing a movie that has music by A.R. Rahman.
Okay. He doesn't do that much music for movies anymore, though.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't really do Telugu movies in general.
He's never done that, though. And he doesn't do that many Tamil movies anymore, right?
He does some, but not that many.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he has slowed down. Other people in the movie, Rashmika Mandana is the female lead, and Akshay Khanna plays, I guess, the antagonist. First time I'm seeing him for a long time. I don't.
Dil Chahta Hai.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. I don't watch a lot of Hindi films in general, and I haven't seen a lot of his movies, but I like Dil Chahta Hai as a movie, and his character was probably the least interesting part of that movie.
He's like a painter or something.
He's like a painter, and he like falls in love with like an older woman. And that movie's in Australia, isn't it? Well, like part of it is in Australia.
I think so. Yeah.
Budget wise, it's 130 or 140 crore, which, I mean, it's not small, but I guess the kind of movie they were making, it's not huge either. So I got a couple of things to say about some of the action in particular, and maybe the budget constraints they had with that. But we can get into that when we talk about the film. But box office.
Box office is bombing. No, not bombing. That's not
blasting.
Blasting. Yeah.
It's blasting. Yeah, it sure is. So it's so far it's made 726 crore, which makes it the highest grossing film so far this year. Highest grossing Indian film so far this year. So it's done very well in the box office. And initially it was just released in the Hindi language. We watched it in Hindi, but afterwards it has been dubbed into other languages. So like 2 or 3 weeks after its release, I think it came out in Telugu like last week, the dubbed version. So what did you think of this movie?
I didn't like it.
Okay, yeah.
But also, we probably went in with higher expectations, given that it's reviewed really well. I had gone with like super high expectations because I knew what kind of movie we were going into. It's not for me. If you like Passion of the Christ, if you like war epics, I guess, that aren't really action movies, but more just
drama.
I especially didn't like the last hour of this movie. which I think this is a part that everyone likes, but I just thought it
pretty
was
brutal. Yeah.
I just didn't enjoy it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is it goes for a long time as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's this is the Indian Passion of the Christ, essentially.
I was also mixed when we walked out of the cinema. I'm like,
Yeah. Some of it's done really well though.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's like overall, I think it's made reasonably well. But the
The
problem with
costumes is amazing.
the
I think the
costumes,
costumes are really
the
good.
prosthetics, I
Yeah.
think some of the
Yeah.
sets and
Yeah.
just the overall setting and getting that right, they did really well. But yeah, walking out, I thought, why did they make this movie? Like, why did they make a movie based on this character in particular? Because it's not a particularly uplifting story by the
Well,
end of it.
I don't
Yeah.
really think why they made it. Like, you can make a movie about any character,
Yeah.
but it's just not super engaging. But it is drama, and
Yeah.
there is lots of drama. And if you like that type of movie, and if you know about the history of the character, you'll probably enjoy it.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
like, after watching it and reading up a bit more about this time period, I think it's uplifting in a way that if you know about the character and you know what happens after this, you'll get it. Like, I think it makes a lot more sense. And the note that it ends on is also quite, it's almost like a philosophical note. So I think if you know a bit of the backstory and you understand what happened in this time period, you'll enjoy it more. So I kind of appreciated it more in retrospect after I understood a bit more about the history. I think the other thing I found a bit confusing when we were watching it is there's a lot of characters and
the pacing's very off. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if you found the same thing, but a lot of characters get introduced and then you might not see them for a while.
yeah,
But then they come back and they're dead,
yeah,
or it's their
yeah,
funeral. And
yeah. It's like you're
yeah,
meant to have some sort of emotional connect to them. I thought Vicky Kaushal was very good.
Vicky Kaushal did
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I don't think anyone's bad in this movie either. Everyone's good.
Yeah, I thought Akshay
Yeah.
Khanna and Vicky Kaushal was very intense. His
Yeah.
performance was, super intense and really good. I thought Akshay Khanna was quite good as well.
I just don't like essentially what the last hour of this movie is.
Yeah,
It's
we could
very
get
drawn
into
out.
it.
Yeah.
We could get into it, I guess, not too much, but we could get into it a bit in spoilers. A little bit about the history of this is, so the main character who's Sambhaji Maharaj. So the movie is called Chhaava, but Chhaava is the name of the novel that it's based on. So he's the son of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, who was a warrior and king at the time who fought the Mughal Empire. And the Mughal emperor at the time was Aurangzeb, who's played by Akshay Khanna in the movie. It's only a tip of the iceberg about what that character actually is. Once I started reading about him, like there's a lot there. And he was the emperor. I think he was the longest serving Mughal emperor of India. So it was like for 50 years. So he was there before Chhatrapati Maharaj. He witnessed. So this movie starts when Chhatrapati Shivaji dies. So he was there before him, and then after his death, and then after what happened in this movie as well, for another like 20 years. So he was there for a long time. So it's about them essentially. That's the main conflict that is there.
Yeah. But it's not an action movie.
No.
And I think the action is the action that they do have it is not that good.
Yeah, so that was one of my negatives because there are, I guess, maybe three action sequences in the whole movie. One at the very beginning, and then like one in the middle, and one sort of to pre-climax. And they weren't that good. Like they were quite repetitive, actually. Like there wasn't that much happening. There was stuff happening in there, but it just wasn't very interesting.
Yeah, it's like a mix of trying to make it realistic, but also it's not realistic at all.
Yeah.
Like, I think they tried to toe the line and be like, oh, we got to make this realistic because the last hour of the movie has to hit. And if this isn't realistic, then the last hour won't hit.
Won't make sense, yeah.
But then he does crazy stuff anyway. Like, his horse jumps over like it jumps like 50 meters or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's his introduction.
Yeah. So it's like, is it realistic then?
And then he slides under, well, like all of his guards slide under all those logs.
Yeah.
And so there's definitely like very unrealistic elements to the action.
And did you realize that they just straight copied RRR at one point? The
Which
camera shot is the exact same as when Ramcharan fights those 1,000 guys.
Yeah.
And then like they all pile on top of him and he does a camera angle from underneath
Yeah.
when there's all the guys on top of him and he's like struggling
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like he pushes them out. They did that
That's
exact.
the last action sequence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I think it was inspired by RRR. I think RRR, like the lighting and everything, the setting for RRR is just bigger, and it like you could probably see things a bit better. The lighting in that scene was a bit weird
Mm.
because they start off in the daytime and it gets
That start off in the dark and then it goes to the daytime.
and then it
Yeah,
goes it's
yeah,
So I think there was some constraints with the budget, and maybe I mean looking at the director's previous films, he didn't really make action movies,
yeah.
so he's probably a bit inexperienced with dealing with that kind of.
But I don't even
Yeah.
think it's meant to be an action movie.
No,
It's meant
no,
to
it's
be a
more on the
drama.
drama.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And the other thing I would say is the reason I appreciate this movie a bit more is they do stick to the drama. Like they don't romanticize things. So this is what I read this week is movies like so in the same sort of time periods. So Jodha Akbar. So Akbar is Aurangzeb's great grandfather, I think. So it was Akbar, then Salim, then Shah Jahan, then Aurangzeb. So it's basically in that same lineage. But in that movie, they make Akbar seem like, well, they focus on the romantic side of the, and same thing with like Bajirao Mastani.
yeah.
So they really focus more on the romantic angle. In this, they don't. So it's not, she's, Rashmika Mandan is there, but that's not the part of the movie. Like it's not the important part of the movie. So they really focus more on the conflict. And
Yeah.
I think in that way, it's maybe a bit more historically accurate, although there isn't that much about this character in general. I think there's more about Chhatrapati Shivaji.
I think that's the constraint of this movie. There isn't as much about him. So the plot, I don't think the plot is enough for how long was this movie? 3 hours?
It was like 2 hours and 40 minutes. Yeah. So it was pretty long.
It's pretty long
Yeah.
for what the movie is.
Yeah.
It's pretty long. There's, I think the first half takes way too long and not enough happens.
Yeah.
And then the second half, they do a lot. They have to do the end part, which is the most impactful part of the movie. But that goes for like an hour.
Goes for about 40 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. I thought it was just stretched out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you connect with the character, you understand the history, you'll probably like this movie a lot. I appreciate it. I can't say I love it because I probably wouldn't watch it again because it's pretty brutal, especially in the second half. So it's not for the faint-hearted. And the other thing I'll mention is around the background score. So Rahman, I mean, it's not bad, but I also found it pretty repetitive because he has a couple of themes and he just repeats.
So there's this weird part in the second half where it's like different action sequences that happen where they're fighting the Mughal Empire in different
They're like
locations.
ambushing them and stuff.
Yeah, they're ambushing them.
Yeah.
And then the first two had different background music, had like a music with the location, like I guess inspired by the location.
Yeah.
There's like 5 different ones.
Yeah.
And the first two had music inspired by the location. And then the last 3 just have the
His
music.
theme.
His theme music.
Yeah.
Like, did they not have the budget to create more
They just ran
music?
out of,
Or
yeah.
they're just like, screw it, this is better. Let's just use this.
So I wouldn't say it's like Rahman's. Like when you look at his whole career, you're not going to say it's not going to be in his top works or anything like that. But
I feel like in Hindi movies, the background music is used at a different cadence to South Indian movies as well.
yeah,
Like, if I watch Hindi movies, it's definitely not in the same way it's used in South Indian movies. With exception to, like, the movies that are directed by South Indian directors. Like, Jawan uses music in a way a South Indian movie would use it. But, like, the other movies that you use it, it's more almost instrumental and, like, it's a background score. It's not like an elevation score.
Again, there's not that much about this character, so it's hard to know for sure. But what happens at the end is actually kind of a toned down version of what actually happened to him. So like I thought they took some cinematic liberty to make it more dramatic, but actually it was actually much worse than that. So anyway, so I think it's not a bad movie. If you're into the history and you're interested in that part,
Do you know what I thought it was like? It's like Ponniyin Selvan. If you like Ponniyin Selvan, you'll probably like this.
I
I
think
think
this is
they're both on
better.
the same level.
I think this is Ponniyin Selvan is it's definitely a drama. Like it's probably more drama than this. The problem with that movie I found was
Lots of
that,
characters. More characters than this, even.
and
Yeah.
lots of characters, and it just wasn't as emotionally investing as this one. At least I was emotionally invested enough to go and research some stuff after this. Like I was curious, and like it made me curious enough to understand what happened. Whereas Ponniyin and Selvan, I was just like,
I think this and Ponniyin Selvan are on the same rung. They're like as good as each other. Yeah.
I think there was more scope in Ponniyin and Selvan to do
I
action.
haven't seen the second one though, so I don't know.
Ponniyin and Selvan too. Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't seen it either.
Yeah.
There was more scope in Ponniyin and Selvan to do action. Like I think they could have done better action in that. But the action in that wasn't that great as well. Whereas in this, I understand sort of why they went the route they went. Ponniyin and Selvan's like kind of semi fantasy as well. Like there's some like
There's some
fantastic.
fantastical stuff in
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So like I think there was more scope to do other things there. Anyway, we could do some spoilers. So Aurangzeb, they sort of mentioned this, and I can't remember if they mentioned this or not.
He kills his dad. They do mention. Is that what you're talking about? He
Yeah,
killed
so
Shah Jahan.
so
No, he killed Shah Jahan's wife
no, he kills Shah Jahan. Well, he imprisons him, and he dies in prison.
in the Taj Mahal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Oh no, looking at the Taj Mahal.
yeah, and
Yeah,
then he
yeah.
gets buried in the Taj Mahal. So what actually happened is Shah Jahan got really ill. So he was the emperor. He got really ill, but he favored his elder son to be the emperor. And he had 4 sons. Aurangzeb was the third one. So he teamed up with the second one to kill the first one. So in like the Mughal dynasty, like the first son doesn't get preference. It's actually whichever son lives becomes the emperor. So basically, they all start killing each other once once the emperor seat is empty. So what happens was he teamed up with I think the second brother to kill the first brother, and then he kills the second brother anyway. And I think he sends the fourth brother to exile, and then he died as well. So basically, he killed his whole family so that he could become an emperor. So he's pretty brutal already. And then what happens in this movie? So I think Shivaji dies, and then what happens at the end of this movie? It's basically what happened in history, except I think it's not clear, but apparently they also like cut his body and fed him to dogs or like put him in a river or something. So that's the additional detail, which they luckily didn't show in the movie, but they do show a lot of other forms of torture in quite explicit detail in the last 45 minutes. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
If you like that, you'll love this.
He was quite a brutal emperor.
I guess it's historically accurate, so it's not like cinematic liberties.
Yeah.
It is accurate. How would they know?
Via various correspondence. So what they call correspondence is like people write to each other in that time. So I think there's like witnesses of these things. So I don't know how accurate it is.
Yeah.
I think they've definitely taken some cinematic liberty, but I think it's reasonably like if they wanted to make
accurate
this,
as it could be.
yeah, like if they wanted to make this like a cinematic movie, I think they would have done it differently to what they did here. So I think it's reasonably accurate.
Yeah.
Whereas the other movies I mentioned before, like Jodha Akbar is not, apparently it's not accurate at all. Apparently Akbar was also quite a brutal emperor. Interestingly, they're all their bloodline traces back to Genghis Khan.
Oh yeah.
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 So that's how the Mughal dynasty came to India. So I think they're like way back were descendants of Genghis Khan.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So they actually look quite different. Well, by the time we got to Aurangzeb, they looked basically like Indians. but like when it first started, I think they look more Mongolian. Yeah. So it got me interested in the history, at least, which is yeah.
Oh, the movie's a bit boring though, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of the characters, it's hard to keep track of. Like,
Yeah.
there's like this, I think it's his stepmom that's like conspiring
Yeah.
against him as
She
well.
comes
Yeah.
she's in the movie for a lot in the first like half an hour.
And
Then
then
she
she just
disappears. No, she disappears for at least an hour.
Yeah.
And then they come back to her and she's dead.
Yeah, and then she just dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like there's a lot of, and apparently like a common thread in history is people that you think you can trust end up betraying you, which is what happens in this movie. That's
Yeah,
why
the two brothers betray him.
That's why he ends up. Is it brothers or
Brother-in-laws?
Yeah, brother-in-laws.
They're Rashmika's brothers.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they end up betraying him, and that's how he gets captured. And she's also like his stepmom is also like conspiring against him as well at some stage. So her son is the one that so his step brother becomes the king.
Yeah.
But apparently he also, so he ends up fighting Aurangzeb, but he also died. He also died of natural causes. Apparently, he had like lung disease or something, and then his wife becomes the queen. Like she leads the wars.
His wife is the daughter of that guy that dies as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
who also just dies. But he basically dies off screen.
Yeah, like they show
it. They show it, but he might as well have
like
died
in
off
retrospect.
screen.
They show it like I was like, this guy's dead, and
yeah.
And she's and he's the brother of his stepmom.
Wait, so he married his cousin then? The king.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
He married his cousin.
Yeah. I guess that happened back
then. Well, somebody
yeah.
asked him, right?
He asked him to marry his cousin. Yeah. Fair enough.
But anyway, she leads the charge, and I think Aurangzeb died when she was leading. So basically, he was alive for like 3 generations of this, or 3 kings of the Maratha Empire. If you don't mind brutal scenes,
I feel like people are enjoying it. So like people probably do like it. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy it. But I don't like Jodha Akbar either, and I haven't seen Bajirao Mastani, but I assume I won't like it. I just don't like movies in this time period.
Yeah.
I think they're boring.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, even like Bahubali's not, I don't know what time period Bahubali's set in.
Yeah, well, that's completely fictional. So
it's completely fictional, but like
that's much more of a fantasy action though.
That setting doesn't interest me that much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bahubali's like, that's meant to be a commercial movie.
Yeah. So it's not based off anything.
Yeah.
So
it's meant to be like a crowd-pleasing movie, whereas this isn't. So anyway, next,
Robin Hood.
So we've got a bit of a clash. So I think
we're not going to watch Robin Hood, are we?
Well, there's 4 movies coming out that weekend. So there's Robin Hood. So I'm going to put out a poll. Please don't vote for Robin Hood. The other movies that are coming out are...
Is that Salman Khan movie coming out?
Yes, Sikandar is coming out. Mad². I actually just watched Mad last week.
Did you like it? I haven't seen Mad.
It's actually not bad. Like it's like Happy Days, but
good.
but like not cringe.
Yeah.
So it's not cringy. Like it's a bit more like, I guess, what you might think colleges are like now. Whereas like Happy Days, I feel like it's a bit.
Happy Days was, it's hilarious, but for the wrong reasons.
It's not bad. I think you might actually like it. It's a short movie as well. It's like 2 hours. It's a Mad², and the other movie is L2, Empuraan.
I haven't seen Lucifer actually.
Yeah.
One of my friends really wants me to watch Lucifer.
Yeah.
He said I can't watch what's that Chiranjeevi movie?
Godfather.
He said I can't watch that. I have to watch Lucifer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably for the right reasons, because I don't think Godfather's good.
So apparently, I haven't seen Lucifer either. Maybe we should try to watch it before, if we do end up watching L2. Apparently, Mohanlal's in that for like 20 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How much is Chiranjeevi in Godfather for?
More.
Okay.
More than that. So he's like...
the main character's actually, what's his name?
Prithviraj.
Prithvi.
Nah, not even. I think it's more like around the political drama.
Okay.
But like so it's about Mohanlal's character, but I don't think he's actually that much screen time. So
How about instead of watching any of those, we watch that other Mohanlal movie, but it was 3D?
has anyone seen that?
Yeah, did anyone watch that? Did Mohanlal watch that?
Battles.
Yeah.
It was also like this weird 3D where like people were like,
It wasn't 3D with the glasses, was
Yeah,
it? It
it
was
was like-
yeah.
it's like coming out of the screen. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it was weird.
My camera's gone.
Yeah, so if you want us to watch that instead, let us know.
I kind of want to watch Sikkim though,
So
but I think that will be the worst one.
Apparently, so it's directed by Mughal.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
Apparently, it might be a kind of a ripoff of Sarkar.
Gosh, I can't. I've tried to watch that movie about 4 to 5 times, and I cannot get through it. If I ever need to go to sleep, I watch that movie because it is so bad. It's so boring. I just can't get through it.
Yeah, like people are like looking at the trailer and stuff, and they're saying it might be like a semi remake of Sarkar.
Okay. Then
but
Robin Hood it is.
well, yeah, I think Mad².
Yeah.
Just watch Mad. See if you like it. I think Mad² might be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess they just do everything squared because they had Tillu² as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tillu²'s not bad as well. DJ Tillu and Tillu² are both good.
All right. If people want to get in touch with us about their thoughts on Chhaava, tell us a bit more about what you know about the history as well. That'd be great.
I don't know anything about the history, so maybe that's lacking in terms of my enjoyment. Yeah.
Yeah, and also like with these kind of historic dramas, like this is told from the perspective of
one guy,
Sambhaji. So it's on that side. I'm sure if you look at it from the other side,
it might look a whole lot different. Yeah.
Not to justify, what they were doing, but there could be another perspective on this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So cognitive recalibration podcast@gmail.com. That is our email address. And then all other platforms at Paisa Vasool. Social media. Yeah.
No worries. And you can follow us on TikTok, Instagram. We put some shorts, reels on there. And stay tuned for the next one, I guess. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.